Hi, welcome back to Fee Makes Art. I'm Sophia, and today I want to talk about my favorite knitting and crochet supplies. Okay, so we'll start with the bag that I keep my most used supplies in. This is the Sola Studio bag in the colorway Becca Sands. In here, I keep my most used tools and also my planning materials. I usually keep my current project in that bag. Right now I'm working on my Mabel sweater for Halloween, and it's gotten a little too big to be kept in the bag, so it's being kept separately at the moment. But I also will keep just the project and the working yarn in there. I'll keep the extra yarn in a separate place. I really like the size and shape of this bag and the way that it holds its shape to a certain extent. It just makes it more like stable, and it also has a lot of pockets on the outside and the inside, which is really nice. So next is my Furls crochet hooks. So I keep them in this front pocket of the bag. There's like these little like small tall pockets that are perfect for crochet hooks. So I have the Onyx Streamline metal hooks in the polished finish. They also have a matte finish. And if you don't want black ones, they also have a lot of other fun colors. But I have size G or 4mm, size H, which is a 5mm, and size J, which is a 6mm. These are my most used crochet hook sizes, so that's why I chose to invest in Furls hooks in these sizes. The Furls hooks are kind of expensive, but I really like them because they work really smooth with the yarn. And if you can see, like, the tip is less rounded than usual metal crochet hooks, so I find that it grips the yarn a lot better than other hooks I've had in the past. And there is like the large ergonomic handle, which really helps with hand and wrist fatigue and preventing repetitive motion injuries, which is really important to me because I do crochet and knit like quite a bit. They're also like a little bit weighted, which I find is really nice, and they're completely made out of aluminum, so they're really sturdy, and I felt like they were a good investment piece. Then I also keep in here my interchangeable set of circular knitting needles. So it came in this like little booklet. Right now the 4mm needles are not in there because I'm using those for a project, but it has all the different cord lengths, all the different sizes of needles. In this top pocket you get a measuring tape, and then the tightening keys and cord connectors, and you also get a couple of stoppers for the ends, which is really helpful when you want to try your piece on, or you need to switch cables or whatever. And then in here I also keep like a grippy pad for untightening the hooks and tightening the hooks, or the needle, sorry. This did not come with the kit. I had this from a previous kit, but I find these really helpful. And then this particular set also came with a small pair of scissors, which are really nice and sharp, and then also 2 wool needles. And I just like how it's like all inside this little compact case. I don't think I said this, but it is the Knit Pro Nova Grand 5-inch set. And again, I'll link this below if you're interested in purchasing that also. Next I have in one of these side pockets this pill box organizer. In here I keep all of my stitch markers, and they're each labeled. And then I also keep these like safety pins. They're the little ones that are kind of shaped like light bulbs, so they're God, you can't see that. So they're smooth. They don't have that like inner circle, so then the yarn doesn't get stuck in those. And I use those for attaching labels to my gauge swatches. And then in here I have crochet stitch markers, which are just little charms that I put on lever back earring hooks. And then I also have my knitting stitch markers which are just charms that I put on jump rings. I have some on 9mm jump rings and some on 15mm jump rings for larger projects. And I really like this because it keeps it all organized, and then it does click close and it has like a button to open. And then there's also a top container where I keep another pair of scissors and some large needles. Another thing that I keep in this bag is my planner. So this is where I plan out all of my social media posting and when I need to have projects done by to stay on track. This is the split wire 8x10 altitude 2025-2026 15-month calendar. I think it's in the color, I wrote it down, hold on. It's in the color dark sage. And I also like this because it has a little bookmark that you can move so that you can open it right to the different week that you're on. And next thing I have in here are my compression gloves. I mostly use these when I am crocheting because I tend to get my hands and wrists tend to get a lot more fatigued when I'm crocheting than when I'm knitting. But occasionally I will also wear them when I'm knitting if I'm having some issues with my wrists and hands. Again, I'm just really trying to prevent repetitive motion injuries. And then I also keep this notebook, which is just a like 360 page, I think, graph notebook. And in here I keep track of what projects I'm working on. So right now I'm working on my Mabel sweater, so I've drawn out like what the measurements need to be, some calculations, the supplies I'm using, how many rows I'm doing, what stitch I'm using, all of that sort of stuff, just so if I really like the way a project turns out, I can replicate it. And I also like because it has a little pen holder on the side if you want to keep your pen on there. I also have the exact same notebook that I use for planning out my videos. So if I'm planning out a video and needing to like write out what I want to say or writing down ideas I have for future videos, I'll also have this in this bag. And then I just have a pencil case in here too, so I can write things down, and I have some like highlighters and stuff in here so I can make it like fun and colorful. And then the last thing that I keep in this bag is a light. So this just goes around your neck and the lights are at the ends. And I really like this because I mostly knit and crochet in my boyfriend's office where he plays video games and he doesn't like to have the light on ever. So that's really helpful so I can still see what I'm doing, but we don't have to have the big light on. So I find that really helpful as well. And then for finishing steps that I don't keep in my bag, so for wet blocking and steam blocking, I have 4 sets of the Mr. Pen blocking mats. 4 mats come in a set, so I have a total of 16 of these mats. I don't know, these are the only blocking mats I've tried, so I don't know if they're like great or not, but I do like most blocking mats have like these grids on them, and I would definitely recommend getting ones with the grids. And then I also just have a knit blocking combs set. And then the Mr. Pen blocking mats also do come with some T-pins in them, but I find it's really helpful to have some of these larger combs, especially if you're working on a bigger project. And then for washing my pieces, I just have this collapsible bin, and it does have like a drain to drain out the water, and then I just wash my pieces in any unscented liquid laundry detergent. I don't like using the Tide Pods or like any type of pod for washing crochet or knit pieces, because it's hard to make sure when you're hand washing that the pod like fully dissolves. So I just like to use like a concentrated like squeezy one. Right now I have the unscented evergreen one from Target, and that's been working fine. I like to use unscented soap because a lot of my knit and crochet projects are gifts or I'm making them to sell. So I just want to be like sensitive or conscious of people who have fragrance sensitivities. So that's why I just choose to use unscented. I think it's just more generally accommodating. And then I do also have a steamer for when I am steam blocking swatches, so I don't have to like wet block a swatch. That's a gauge swatch. That would kind of be a process just to get a gauge swatch. So I do have a steam blocker. It's not really anything special. It's just a normal steam blocker, but I do like to use that. Also, and then if I have like a smaller piece that doesn't necessarily need to be wet blocked, like it's not a garment, sometimes I'll steam block it too, just to make the process a little bit faster. So those are all of my favorite knitting and crocheting supplies. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe and come back and watch more of my videos. Yeah, thanks for watching.